I remember back before I ever even started meditating, I was going to sit down to meditate virtually with somebody, actually. And I kind of got scared. I was wondering what the experience was going to be like. I thought that I was going to like enter this new realm, that I was going to like lose myself, that I was going to get high. I mean, all of those things can happen when you meditate depending on how you approach meditation, but I I wasn't per se scared of like maybe I was. I'm not entirely sure that I was afraid of looking at myself, but I was afraid that I was going to like lose myself and all of this, all of this, that, and the other, all of the magical shit that happens when somebody meditates. Um, but I've spent a good amount of time now at this point looking at myself, and you know, I think that there was a point, especially in like high school, that I was afraid of looking at myself and the skeletons, the cobwebs, all of that stuff was there. There were things that I was carrying around for a long fucking time, and what can happen is, you look at it for long enough, and it's like, well, what the fuck does that mean, right? What is that that's there? What does that mean? What does that have to do with my life, right? And I was just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with all this stuff. There were times that I had anxiety, times that I had depression, all that stuff. And it was just kind of like challenging for me to figure out what to do with all of it. Um, so then I think that that was like 2012, 2013, something like that. And then 2017 came along. February of 2017, I started meditating every single day. And it actually wasn't what I thought it would be. I started with a mindful meditation practice, and it was very different. And from that day forward, I've been meditating every single day. And then I actually started doing it at nighttime as well, which was wild. Um, but, you know, when you're afraid of looking at yourself, what does it mean? You know? Are you afraid that you're going to see something that you don't like? I've actually heard that people don't like meditation because it makes them angrier. And I've never experienced that. I can understand why it would. And that is because when you look at yourself, and the reason why you'd be afraid of looking at yourself is because when you do actually look at yourself, you discover things about yourself that you do not like, that are not pretty, that are not flowers, that are not sunshine, that are not idealized. I made that video about idealizing, the mind idealizing other people, right? We idealize ourselves. We think that we are these grandiose things, and of course, parents can really overinflate things and this, that, and the other, and you know all these different things. It's just fascinating. When you're afraid of looking at yourself, I think it's probably because you're afraid of realizing that you're not this idea of perfection that you were told you have to be and achieve, and it just like shatters your fucking reality. Meditation's not the only way of looking at the self, by the way. There's also journaling. Journaling is a great way to take your fucking mind and just throw it out on paper, right? Get your ideas all gathered and everything. Something else that's really fascinating, though, about this whole thing of looking at yourself, this I would argue to be probably one of the most challenging ways of looking at yourself, is being more conscious of social situations and social interactions when you're having a conversation with somebody, right? Um, Actually, some of my ideas come from when I like exit conversations. with people, and like I come out of conversations with people. It's like, I don't know, I see myself, I see other people, and I'm like, whoa, right? And yeah, social interactions are a great opportunity to look at yourself, actually, because the model that is Chris is being created in front of my fucking eyes. My thoughts, my feelings, my behaviors, all of those things are coming together, and they're expressing themselves in this form with this person in this conversation. And so it's like, all right, there's an opportunity to consciously look at yourself, right? It might be scary, but guess what? You get an opportunity to learn more about yourself, right? And quite honestly, I mean, if somebody is afraid of looking at themselves, I understand why. But in my own experience, there's no better version of the self than the self that becomes refined through growth and through etching away at the bullshit and, oh shit, I'm not perfect. Fuck. Right? And it's like, well, good news, nobody is, right? Maybe we create this idea of perfection that, has to, you got to be this way, you got to be that way, you got to stand fucking tall. Like no. Drop those shoulders, relax. You're human just like everyone else is. Guess what? We're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Yeah, I think that when somebody is scared of looking at themselves, and by the way, when I say looking at themselves, I mean introspection, right? As Socrates once said, the unexamined life is not worth living. Yeah, at this point in my life, I need to know myself, right? I have journaling for a reason. I am throwing all these ideas, all these subconscious models of how I fucking see myself for a reason. There is serious ROI there. And that's the other thing, too. Like, looking at yourself is all about evolution. And life is all about evolution. I mean, you can do what you want. You can be scared of looking at yourself if you want. But the only thing that's really going to get hurt is the ego, right? If you look at yourself and you see things that you don't really like, that's okay. Now, here's the challenging thing. Your parents and or other authority figures in your life may have said things to lead you to believe that you got to be perfect. You got to do this, that, and the other in life, right? You got to find that perfect person. You got to go to school. You got to get married. You got to have a great job. You got to make a lot of money. Just beliefs. And to challenge all of that stuff is the fucking gravy, right? Yeah, I think that earlier on in my life when I was in high school was the time that I was probably the most afraid of looking at myself. There were a lot of things that I saw in myself that I didn't really understand. I didn't really know what they meant. And that kind of stuff can just be really fucking challenging to sit with. And so I think that after a while, I just reached a threshold of, emotional pain, the anxiety and the depression. And I was like, what the fuck do I have to lose? So then that's when I really started to, make moves on my spiritual path. And yeah, I wanted to know me. I wanted to know why I do the things that I do, think the things that I think, feel the things that I feel, behave the way that I behave. And that's really what it's all about. You can be scared of looking at yourself if you want to, but that will be a blockage. It'll be an obstacle in your life. And I can tell you right now from personal experience that there is no greater ROI in life. ROI is return on investment. There is no greater ROI in life than that of looking at yourself, right? You can push yourself really hard to achieve big things. You can make all the fucking money you want. But if you don't know yourself, then what do you really have?